Hello folks, today we're going to do a video on how to make a pump drill like you see right here. And we're going to put a stone tip on the end, a little drill bit. It's a piece of oak that we're drilling into. Now originally I was going to go ahead and make an aboriginal looking pump drill like you see right here using sandstone and other components like this, but I decided instead to keep it simple. And instead of using sandstone for the flywheel, we're going to use concrete or mortar, which you can just pour into a plastic container, let it harden, punch a little hole in it, and you've got a simple counterweight that's really easy to make. And it's pretty good. It's nice and heavy. Should hold up well. We'll put everything together. We'll start with our spindle, then we'll go ahead and pour our counterweight. We'll make our handle, tie the rope onto it. We'll cut a notch in the end of our spindle, and we'll put a flint drill tip on there and secure it, and then we'll test it out on some various materials. So let's get started. For the spindle of our pump drill, I'm going to use a tree branch. The tree branch has a natural taper, and that's a real benefit when you make your press fit with your flywheel down here in the bottom of the spindle. I cut this spindle from this tree about a month ago, and I let it dry out naturally, and I just straightened it several times over the last month and leaned it straight up in a corner, and now I've got a pretty nice, straight, dry, stiff spindle. I want this pump drill to be a little bit larger than the one we used to make fire with in the last video, so I'm going to cut it right about there. Now we need to drill a hole in the end of our spindle, in the narrower end, just like we have on this one. Have to be careful to keep it centered just perfect there. That was a pilot hole. This one here is just a little bit larger. Okay, that should do it. Now we're just going to smooth the shaft a little bit where each one of these little branches has left a little burr here. Yeah, that's nice and smooth now. Now we'll cut a little notch in it so that we can mount a stone drill like this one here. Now there's the start of our notch, and we'll go ahead and open that up a little bit with a knife. Okay, that's about right. Later we'll go ahead and we'll bind that on with some cordage. Now that the spindle is completed, we're ready to go ahead and make the handle for our pump drill. I'm going to use this cane that grows in the riverbeds down here, and I'm going to cut it right past the node. That'll keep it from splitting. So right there. So now we're ready to go ahead and drill some holes in it. I'm just going to drill a hole on the inside of that node right there. Now the other end. Now we need to drill a hole midway between this hole and that hole. It's got to be exact. And that'll be for our spindle. Looks like 16 inches, so we'll make it exactly 8 inches here. So we've got our mark at 8 inches here, perfectly in line with these two holes, and we'll go ahead and drill it. We need to enlarge that with a little bigger drill for our spindle. Okay, that should do it. We can enlarge that a little more if we need to. Good. So now we just need to thread our rope through the handle. going to tie a knot in the other end here, and we can adjust our length. I'm going to go ahead and burn the end of the cord to keep it from unraveling. And there we go. The spindle and the handle is completed. We're going to use a little bit of mortar mix here. We're going to put it in these 3 plastic molds we've got over here, and we're going to go ahead and make some flywheels using these molds and this mortar mix here. Pour in a little water here, start mixing up our mortar. That should do it. Again, you don't want it too wet. A fairly dry mix. That makes for a stronger bond when it finally cures here. Okay, we'll pour that into our molds. That'll leave a hole for our spindle. Make sure we get that centered perfectly in there. Okay, these should make some nice flywheels. We'll let these cure for 3, 4, 5 days anyway. Make sure they're good and strong. The longer they cure, the stronger the wheels will be. It's been 24 hours since we poured these, and I'm removing the concrete mortar from their molds. Yeah, this one came out really nice. We've got to let that set up for a few days before we can use it, let it cure properly. Concrete continues to cure basically forever. It gets harder and harder. There's our hole going all the way through. Now I removed these sticks from the mold a couple hours after we poured it because I didn't want them to get stuck in there. And that seems to have worked out pretty well. Sometimes what I like to do here when I'm pouring concrete is just remove these rough edges here, smooth them out a little bit before it completely sets up, because it's a lot harder after it's completely cured. Just getting rid of that sharp corner on there. These wheels have been curing for 5 days. It's time to put one of these wheels on our pump drill. I think we'll go with the big one here. This one's 2.5 pounds. That one's 1.5. Smaller one is about 1 pound. I just untied the string here. Hopefully this thing will fit pretty well. And I'll probably whittle this down just a little bit more, maybe take a file to it. I want to get my counterweight right about down here. It's got to be a good tight fit. A pretty good fit on there. And just as a safety precaution, I'm going to go ahead and put some duct tape all around it. Concrete's a lot more brittle than sandstone, and just in the event it cracks or breaks for some reason, that'll keep it from flying apart. Now we can go ahead and put our handle and rope back on there. Our pump drill is completed. The only thing remaining is just go ahead and put a flint drill bit on the end here, and then we'll test it out. It's important that the drill tip be centered right perfectly in the shaft so that it doesn't wobble. So I'm going to go ahead and lash that down. I'm going to use some fake sinew here. And you can use dental floss or anything that's just really good and strong, because it's really got to be secured on there real well so that it doesn't slip out or tip to the side.
that should do it.
Ready to give this a test. We're going to start off with a piece of pine, see if we can drill through that. Again, make sure the handle is nice and level. Get a good wind up there to start off with. Seems to be drilling okay. Okay, that was a success. We got through it. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick. Now for juniper. Okay, there's a hole through our juniper. Split the branch, but it did punch through. This piece is persimmon. Persimmon is much harder than juniper or pine. Seems to be going through pretty well though. We didn't make it quite through the persimmon. It started binding on me a little bit and slowing down the pump drill. Now this big log here is desert ironwood. I cut this years ago, and it's extremely hard wood, one of the hardest woods on the planet. And we'll see how it does on that. Not sure what to expect. It's actually cut it in. I think I'm down 3/8 of an inch or so. Maybe 1/2 an inch. Now it's starting to bind up pretty good. All right. Here's a close-up of the ironwood. It actually bored into that pretty well. I'm a little surprised. It wasn't any harder than it was on the softwoods. And it's down at least 1/2 an inch or so. Something like that. I tried drilling through sandstone. This is relatively soft sandstone, and I didn't have a whole lot of success. I spent 10 minutes just getting, that's not even 1/4 of an inch deep, and I had to sharpen the blade 3 times. Now, this is a little bit harder sandstone, and after the blade got dull, I thought I would try mixing a little bit of sand in with it, and I tried it dry, and then I also tried it wet, wetting this down, filling that up with water, pouring more and more sand in there, but it just does not work. So I'm not really sure what the trick is to drilling through sandstone, but it must have had a way. Put my shorter bit back in there, and I'm just going to demonstrate real quick what happens on sandstone. Essentially, after a couple of pumps, it's about as deep as it's going to get. Okay, now, the tip of the flint drill is pretty well polished. There's not a whole lot of cutting going on. That's a little bit there. And that's about all we're able to do. Now for drill bits, you want to use the toughest material you can find. I'm using some raw Pedernelli's chert here. Hasn't been heat treated. It's good and strong, and you definitely don't want to use heat treated material for this. I've been experimenting with these bits so far, and including some wider ones that are shaped more like a conventional arrowhead. And what I'm finding is this bit right here is giving me the best results. It seems that what you need is to have a taper on the end right here with shoulders that narrow back if you want to drill a deep hole, if that's the goal. Because what I'm finding is if I have an expanding tip like this right here, when it gets down to about 1/2 an inch deep, this area right here creates too much drag in the upper end of the hole, and it just slows the process down, and essentially the flywheel just comes to a stop, and then you have to rewind it by hand, and basically you're dead in the water. You can't go any deeper than that. So my goal here will be to produce another drill tip like this, but a little bit longer, and see if I can actually punch through a 1-inch board. So I'm just going to continue shaping this little flake right here and make another drill out of it using this hammerstone and this pressure flaker here. I'm not doing a flint knapping video as such, but just thought I'd show you how it's done. Now on a drill bit, you want to maintain a fair amount of thickness, unlike on an arrowhead where you're usually trying to go for as thin as you can get. So what I need to do at this point is just drive my flakes to about the halfway point, sort of the medium ridge here, and that way we'll end up with a sort of a diamond cross section and a thicker tip, which is what you want. Otherwise it's just going to twist right off. There's a lot of torque on these things. So we'll just carry on here. Again, just shooting for the middle. It's getting there. All of the cutting on the drill is going to occur in this area right here in the very, very tip. There'll be no cutting on here. This is just narrowed back so that it doesn't bind on anything and create extra drag. I want the tip fairly blunt. So far my testing is telling me that a blunt tip is better than a really, really pointed tip because it won't dig in and bind up the drill. Also the edge angle, I don't want an acute sharp edge angle. I just want a kind of an obtuse angle. And I need to abrade it really, really heavily, much more than you would on an arrowhead or a spearhead, because there's just so much torque that the drill can easily twist to the side when it's hafted in the end of the spindle. That's what I'm finding. And the longer the drill, the more torque there is on it, the more likely it is to get out of alignment. And it's got to be kept in alignment so that it spins true. If it gets cocked off to the side like that, then it's going to be swinging a large arc, and more likely it's going to snap the end of the drill. So I want to braid that real strong right in there. This area right in here, that needs to be braided also. Alright, that should do it. Here's this one. This one here should go another 1/4 to 1/2 inch deeper than this one. We'll see if we can get through that piece of wood. I might make one a little bit longer yet. I don't want to make it too long because there's just so much torque on it that I'm afraid it's going to snap the tip off.